gonna do? I'm a different type of smoke.
You crack smoke. We should stay away from crack smoke. Hey, it's 400 people on this live. Let's say all 400 people want to live by the teachings of Earth. And we believe that we are indigenous people of the Americas. Who do we go to for the land patents to get the land rights to the land sovereignty of the land that was bought in the Louisiana Purchase? He has never responded to the answer. I also asked him, okay, Earth, you say you black indigenous. They say they black Moor. They say they Hebrew. How does this make you immune to policing? He's never responded to that question. My motto is education is elevation, and I really do this education. I'm not just some fast talking guy off the internet. I'm not just somebody that want to debate off the internet. I really be in the classroom. I really write. I really do research. You see what I'm saying? And we ain't got to bring up them degrees. Then we gonna just show you straight off the dome. And I'm just mad that I'm still talking to myself because folk ain't showed up yet. Listen, man, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Invite sent. I just seen the. Come on now. This ain't what I want. This ain't what I'm about to get off live in this coming years. You can have a big screen. You can have a big screen. I'll be the little screen. We can get this done.
Now, because it's not even rocket science. Really, I can spit this joint from the top with no receipts or nothing. I don't really need none of that. I can spit the whole joint. Like, I don't need none of that.
Spit away.
Yeah, so you keep on saying that our origins started in Africa. So there's a couple things, there's a bunch of discrepancies because first of all, you're taking that from the non-melanated Europeans. That's where you're getting that from. Now, if you want to start before we even get started, let's go ahead and figure out what the time frame going to be, like you said, because I don't want to be interrupted, and I certainly don't want to interrupt you, but I'm gonna make my points clear.
3 minutes.
So let's do 5 minutes. Let's do 5 minutes. Let's do 5 rounds of 5 minutes.
Let's do 3 rounds of 5 minutes. I don't need 5 rounds. Let's do 3.
3 rounds of 5 minutes. That's pretty easy. That's pretty easy. First things first. First things first. When we're gonna talk about the story of our origin of melanated people, you gotta go back to what people eat. You can't just go with migrations because somebody could be in West Africa and then come to North Africa. So the migrations matter. You don't know. So let's just deal with that. Let's just deal with, first off, how can Africa be the mother of civilization when she don't have no food? If you're a mother, you need food and you need water, and that food needs to be the medicine also. Now, out of 640 crops grown in Africa today, 600 of them are native to here. Now, before the 1500s, they never seen a tomato before 1492, my man. So I don't know where that whole thing comes from, but in fact, before the 1500s, they were catching bubonic plague, yellow fever. Bubonic plague killed 200 million people. Yellow fever, malaria, which killed half the people born to the planet. Now, their populations are dwindling. When they came here and they got our plants, then their populations, then that's when you see the population boom, symbolizing our populations here were already larger than anywhere else, my mans. So when you talk about that, that right there is showing you the origins of the plant life. That's what people eat, right? You started getting the milk from the mama again. You started getting milk from mommy. That's what happened. And then your population started going up again. Now, when you're talking about these lands, how could we be from Africa? And we all agree that life starts from melanated people, correct? We do agree that life started from melanated people, right? Consciously?
Right.
Okay, so now the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest is hyper dominant. We planted that. We planted that. So that predates the hominids, my man. That predates the hominids. We created something called terra preta out of terra firma. See, this right here, you're not ready, my man. Look. Now, when you want to get to the Maya, which is our people, right? The Maya, that wasn't their name. Their name was not Maya. Their name was the Navas, Davas. They were also known as the Naga. And what they tell us off of the wall is these lands are called Mayak. Mayak means the first lands that rose from the bosom of the deep. So there was no other lands. And I'm talking about these lands at a time where the sun didn't even rise above the horizon yet, my man. So I'm going to yield to you right now, and you go ahead and give your rebuttal.
Hey, okay. I'm going to start at 10:17. Really just starting off at the top. I think you fundamentally just don't understand what we're debating about. I can still whoop your ass in this debate about how black people in America are origins of African descent without having to get into you talking about the Terraphites and talking about, you know what I'm saying, plant origins. What we can acknowledge is that when we start to think about the way in which African people or people of melanated, you know what I'm saying, came into the Americas, we acknowledge we were marked 3/5 of human. We also acknowledge that there are literal boats that came in from ports of New York, ports of Virginia, also ports, you know what I'm saying, of New Orleans. We can go to the end of this debate and just acknowledge this right here. Whether you acknowledge yourself to be Aboriginal, whether you acknowledge yourself to be Hebrew, whether you acknowledge yourself to be African, how does this make you immune from the system of white supremacy? Can you tell me that what have you identifying as the ethnicity and of indigenous? What has it done for the political, social, or economic livelihood in the way that you have to, you know what I'm saying, conduct yourself? Second thing, you have committed the textbook indigenous erasure, where you are literally conducting yourself like a colonizer on this TikTok space where you are trying to claim the identity of the indigenous people. What have you internalized about Africa or Africans that make you want to distance yourself from them? Who taught you to hate Africa and Africans so much that the whole entire world understands who you come from and where you come from, but you want to tell them what's YouTube's conspiracy theory about tomatoes, that you're not of African descent? But people game though, this is what you have to answer. Okay, let's say it. TheEarthSpeaks. Okay, shit, you're native. Now what? Now what? Now what? Does this mean that you're immune from police brutality? No. Does this mean you're more likely to get along? No. Does this mean you own land? No. So what does it mean? Does this mean now the treaties that the white folks broke against natives? It don't mean that. So to me, it just seems as if you just came across a nice sensational YouTube video and now you're getting dopamine release off of shit claiming to have a genealogy about indigeneity.
Do you yield your time, my friend? I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to interrupt you. Okay, so look. So as far as about where we go from here. Now, if you didn't notice, are people getting back to the land patents? And if you didn't notice this, the melanated tribes are the only ones that have land patents, and nothing else trumps the land patent. Now, if you look in California right now, those people went to the judges and the mayor in the police station and kicked them out of the town, and now they are their own entity right now. Now, when the people try to do that in Georgia, right? Guess what happened? They looked at them when them so-called rubber natives tried to do that, Hollywood natives tried to do that in Georgia. They looked at them like they was crazy. Started talking about you Muskogee, and then Chief Warhorse came up there and said you can't even be Muskogee because Muskogee is only a language. So look, my mans, they ain't the one. Now since we know that these lands are the first lands that rose from the bosom of the deep, that means melanated were walking these planets, these lands before any other land came out of the water. There was no other land. There was no Pangea. Like everybody want to act like there was a Pangea. That's another little small white lie they told you. But if it was a Pangea, they would have the same fruits and vegetables as we do. But they never seen a pumpkin, corn, squash, peppers. None of that before 1492. None of it. None of it. Peanuts, papaya, none of it. They didn't have nothing over there. That's in Asia, Europe, and Africa. In fact, not only did they not have the food, they don't got the water. Africa only has 9% of the Earth's surface drinking water. That is second to the lowest. Second to Oceania. Now, how if you don't have food, don't have water, how are you going to be the mother? In fact, it is not the mother, it is the father of the earth, because it is the minerals. In fact, the Sudanese dust storms is what gives the ocean its minerals, and the rest of the world its minerals, all the forest around the world. So you can go check that out too. There's different organs to this planet, and that's what these different continents are. Now, not only that, we are the only continents that exist in both sides of the hemisphere, which means we exist on the north and the south side. So when North America froze, we walked our asses down to South America, and we've been doing that. In fact, we created the pyramids here. We are the Tuttle Sheep people, who they called us the Olmec people. I'm gonna yield my time.
Man, everybody get this man a clap real fast.
I'm a
debate, definitely. This is my time now, man. This is my time, man. This is right here. We call this edutainment. I'm whooping your ass so bad on the intellectual level. I have to make this debate entertaining for the people watching it, because you just bored them to death. What he just did, in debate, we call that not having an internal link. What he just gave you was a whole bunch of non-topical whataboutisms that does not prove his point. Can y'all show me in the last speech, where did he give you evidence that people of African, the so-called African people of African descent in America, where are we able to prove that we're indigenous? Correct audience, people watching this debate, people watching this man get his ass added to my debate highlights. Where did he quantify one claim? Did he tell you about fruits? Did he tell you about Sudan? Did he tell you about land patents? Hey, y'all, to the people in the back of the classroom, when I was a student at the University of Oklahoma, I had the opportunity to be around a lot of beautiful indigenous peoples. I learned about what happened to the Osage Nation. The Osage Nation in the 1920s was one of the richest counties in America per capita, because all the white people that marched the Indians down for the, you know what I'm saying, the Trail of Tears, the reason why they gave them Oklahoma, because they thought that land was worthless. In the 1920s, the Osage Nation literally struck oil in their land. This man sound crazy as hell talking about some damn land patterns, as if we can't point out multiple different tribes that have been fucked over by the United States federal government based off of land deeds. The Osage Nation murders is literally how white people were able to strategically marry into and murder off an entire tribe of people down there to take their land. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of people in this Osage around there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's still alive. But when it comes to the land that he believes is so God, we find the land, brother. So for the black people that have so-called land ties to all the land that was bought in Louisiana Purchase, which one of the treaties or which one of the states do they go to say, hey, TheEarthSpeaks on TikTok said that I'm indigenous to this land, and I know that the goddamn French had sold this land to the English during this time, but he told me our people doing what you said, land patents. Yeah, so what we go with that? You sound crazy as hell. You feel what I'm saying? And this right here, this what it is. These trivial identity debates in the black community are just as trivial as when they're arguing about who should sit in the back seat. your wife, or your mama. These arguments are stupid. You know why they stupid? It's because when white folks see us, whether you identify, you can shake your head all you want to, my whether you identify as being indigenous or Hebrew or Jamaican or whatever nationality, ethnicity you want to, that does not stop white supremacy. You see what I'm saying? What I know is that if you go to New York, go to Miami, come to Houston, you saying I'm indigenous, not only is gonna laugh at you, white folks gonna say, so what? You see what I'm saying? And because I know the reality of the reality of America, I know that there's no YouTube video you can go to say, hey, I can tell you the genealogy of this seed and tell you that the womb come from. This sounds like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. As a matter of fact, to end this debate, y'all remember Living Color, Oswald Bates? Tell me he don't sound like the indigenous version of Oswald Bates. Tell me he don't. Education is elevation. My name is Conscious Lee. I am him. I only got one more speech left. This shit easy, man.
So as you can see here, he don't got no rebuttals to none of this stuff. He's surface level dude. He's not ready. He just getting hair connected on his little information goatee. As you can see right here, he ain't ready. You know what I'm saying? So look, I'm gonna break you down like this since you brought up Oklahoma, my man. And it wasn't the 1820s, it was the 1830s, my man. And that walk the Trail of Tears, how do you know that? How do we know that that's our people? Because in Oklahoma, when you look at when Black Wall Street was, it was the same exact time. It's the same exact time, boss. You know, hey, shout out to these troops. Yo, listen, so let's keep on going. Let's just keep on going because this is so easy. This right here is like so much easy work. It's not even funny. When we talking about the origin of people, like I said, you want to keep on saying all of the origins, all these origins start over in Africa and all that. Nah, I just showed you that the Amazon rainforest predates the hominids. That means Lucy, Homo erectus, Zinzanthropus, any of them. So, and those is monkey bones, my man. You better go check that out. But when you want to get in, let's get into a little bit of pyramid work before I leave you be. Because I'll let you know right here that in North and South America, there are more pyramids and earthworks here than anywhere on the planet combined, boss. In fact, I know this man right here or Billy Carson, because I'm telling you, these are the oldest primordial pyramids. This is the ancestral lands to the Egyptians. They know. They like literally, that's what that is. You have no idea about any of this stuff, but you want to literally come up here and debate me about something you literally have no clue about, my man. You literally, in fact, let's just keep going. Because if Africa was up first, why do we have the oldest forest here? Why is that also planted with the milpa planting system? Why? Yeah, look it up. I'll spell it for you. MIPLA. Milpa planting system. And if you look at the Sumerian tablets and the Sumerian drawings, you'll see that that's not a pine cone in his hand, like you and your homeboys be talking about. That's not a pine cone. That is a piece of corn. That's maize. And that is squash and beans next to that maize. And that is also the milpa planting system that is native to here, Atlantis, right here, buddy. So yeah, you literally ain't ready for this debate. You literally just listen to whatever college the professor gave you. I don't know who would ever give you a degree. I don't know. I have no idea. But right now, I know you need some degree because you sweating, because you have no idea what is even happening to you. Right now, you think you're getting hopped on by information right now. I'm going to go ahead and yield, man, because you really haven't answered any of these things.
To the people in the back, right now, I'm putting on a debate clinic. Right now, every speech, at the top of the speech, I'm giving you the framework and the literal metric that you can literally be able to measure this debate in terms of, is he meeting the metric? In this debate, has he given you any reason to not believe that people in America, black people in America of African descent? He's told you about the hominids. He's told you about celestial seeds. He's told you about tomatoes. He's told you, and listen, in debate, we call this straw man argumentation. He's making points to arguments I've never made. And no point in these 3 speeches have I made any arguments about the Back to Africa claim. In any of these speeches, have I made the claim that African people are the original people? I'm making a specific small argument. Majority of melanated people in America that identify as African American or of African descent. And he is committing an indigenous erasure. As a matter of fact, this man has watched some YouTube videos about seeds in the hominage and he's a pseudo-intellectual. He's thinking deeply about shallow shit and drowning in his own understanding. He has never answered the argument. Okay, sir, you say you are indigenous and black. He say he black and Hebrew. He say he black and Moor. He say he African American. The law enforcement are looking at you. Based off of statistics, black people are 3 times more likely of being punished. Black people are 5 more times of being stereotyped. What I'm telling your black ass is that you can tell me about the hominids all you want to. What I'm telling you is your melanin is going to be tied to people of African descent, and as a result, you're going to experience anti-blackness. You see what I'm saying? You see how that works? It's simple shit. It's simple shit. You see what I'm saying? I don't like you can try to flex all of the understandings you have about seeds, about migration. I don't have to beat you on that argument. The argument I have to beat you on is that the majority of the people that are melanated that identify as African American in America are of African descent. I can show you policy. Even the white folks know that we are of African descent. That's the reason why the census record was able to keep the touch of black people until the 1790s, because we was marked as what? As property. We also know is that just like we can acknowledge there were, what you said, the Black Wall Street was at the same time of the Osage murders. That's the argument. That's my argument. Want to be clear. The Osage murders happened at the same time of the 1920s. When I was talking about the Osage murder in the 1920s, I was not referring to the goddamn Trail of Tears. That's you having horrible listening skills. Hey, my debate coach always said, Mr. Lee, if they can't understand your argument, they can't beat your argument. You don't understand my argument. You have never responded to any of my arguments. All you doing is damn near having an intellectual contest about the hominage. I just smashed your ass off about your argument about land patents. And when you got up and responded, you didn't respond to none of my rebuttals. And the people in the back, right now, what we call this extending your argument. When he get up, all he doing is windmilling, throwing a whole bunch of shit, hoping something sticks. I'm literally giving you a clinic. When you go back and watch this debate, you're going to be able to see the top of Conscious Lee's speech was framing about how you have to win and what we debating about. All 3 of the speeches. I also said, listen, let's say you're right. What does this mean in terms of impact? I'm telling you, he can say that he's indigenous all he wants to. I even said, so land patents. So you telling me indigenous people are using land patents to take back land that was taken from colonialism? Yes. So again, I even asked them. I asked them in my last speech. I'm going to ask them again. In his speech, I want him to respond. I want you to pay attention to how he does not respond. And if he do respond, it's going to be some horrible shit. So which state, which treaty do we go to if I say, I believe TheEarthSpeaks, consciously is no longer of African descent, I'm indigenous? Which white person do I take it to say, hey, the land y'all bought from that white man, the French dude, that wasn't his land to even sell y'all. That was my land. Which I go to? That's how crazy you sound right now. It sounds like he's living in La La Land. It sounds like he believed that if he do some genealogy, he can go back and take land that has been stolen through colonialism. He sound like a settler colonizer. Hey, white folks go tell Indians that we're the real indigenous people. We're the real Americans. That's what he sound like. That's what he sound like. All he's doing is showing y'all he know how to repeat speaking points. He ain't showed me no argument. He ain't showed me no debating. He ain't responding to my arguments. He ain't giving me no evidence. He telling me which one of my arguments is he talking about seed hominists disprove? Is this argument about hominists disprove what I'm saying about white supremacy? No. Does this argument about land patents disprove what I'm saying about? No. What are we doing? What are we doing? He just wanted to be my friend. He could have said that.
No.
See what I'm saying? You could have just said that shit. But you ain't proved a goddamn thing in here. To me, you sound like you dry ass trying to evangelize and you dry ass trying to, you feel me, increase your membership. You see what I'm saying? And peep game too. For the people that in the back that don't like me, if you don't like me, just say you don't like me. Don't make up nothing. You see what I'm saying? And too, listen, if you don't like me, that's fine. Keep your hate to yourself. You ain't gotta be dry as hell and go try to recruit other for the hate consciously crew. You see what I'm saying? Education is elevation. Research over me search. Say no to that. And listen, if this man had the ability to deal with a like me when he was my age, he would be much better than where he is right now. But unfortunately, he's just coming across me now. Damn, man, ancestors and God, y'all should have blessed this man earlier. My speech over with.
Okay, so, I'm so glad because that sounded like a whole bag of hot wind. I don't even know what just happened, man, but you've been drinking. You must have went in your house and got a whole big pitcher of Kool-Aid and started drinking your own Kool-Aid out here. I don't know what's going on, brother. But listen, you don't know what a land patent is. You need to do reading fundamental. You know the reading rainbow? You might need to go take a ride on that. So check this out, right? Let's be real. Now, if I can just take another little talking point and I can really leave you with it, because when you look at the Human Genome Project of 1996, oh yeah, you know what it is. They copyrighted it because they did not. What you want to talk about? The Hablo group? Let's talk about our Hablo groups because we're the R1. We're the R1 and we're the D. Right? The same ones that they found in the mummies here. So you can say whatever you want. And just for the record, melanated people are the only people who ever mummified their dead. Okay? But let's get back to this Human Genome Project. Now, the people that you are talking about is indigenous people, native people are in fact the 6th genome sequence, which is the lowest genome sequence, only second to lowest to the chimpanzee, who has one more genome lower than them. Now, the East Asian, that's what they're called. That's who they are, the East Asian. So they cannot be indigenous to anywhere on the planet, especially not the oldest ancient lands on the planet. That's number one, right? Next up is the European, which is another 6 genome sequence, okay? After them, it would be preposterous to think that those 2 6 genome sequence can create an African, right? That would be preposterous. Because they 2 blonde hair, blue eye, recessive genomes cannot make a 9 genome African, dark skin, neuromelanated person, right? That would be preposterous. So how could they be indigenous over the African anywhere? And there's proof that they come from the African, so they can't be indigenous. Now, yes, there's proof that they come from the African. Now, when you get to the African genome, they have a 9 genome sequence, and that's a fact. But when they came to the Americas, they found the 12 and the 15 genome sequence, my man, showing when you add Mendel's law to that, you can get the recessive from the dominant, but you can't get the dominant from the recessive, meaning the 9 genome sequence is preposterous to think that they made the 12 or the 15 genome sequence, my man. Now, when you're talking about land patents, yeah, you're getting completely destroyed right now. I'm literally just laying into you, my man, because you literally are up here and you changed the argument. First of all, you changed the argument to now you're not talking about the origin anymore. Now you're talking about something else because you're ill prepared to come and deal with this earth smoke. You coughing and you reacting on the floor. You reacting. Look at you. You got emotional. You was quick to get emotional. And you needed, yeah. And since I done destroyed you on this topic, you might as well go ahead and take that Nefertiti off because she's an Atlantean person anyway. She's from here. Anyway, like I said, yeah, exactly. That y'all look, y'all done brought this man. This to show you right here. Education is not synonymous with intelligence. You see what I'm saying? Like he's probably got all the jabs and he's probably got a doctorate. You see what I'm saying? Like that's my whole point here. You get what I'm saying? You know, he's not ready. This is why I can't get a debate on no platform. I don't want at everybody, and y'all brothers ain't ready. I don't know what these people that have been feeding you, but they've been feeding you lies. I don't know what they tell you in these schools, but it ain't nothing right. And look, you acting like this right here. You literally in your mind think that these 6 genome sequences are indigenous over the Olmec people. You're tripping. And by the way, for all the people who act like the Olmec are from West Africa, right? That's a whole big fallacy. Oh, the Olmec are from West Africa. Let me set the record straight real quick for my ancestors and my divine Atlantean people in the she right here, right now, because y'all know me. Y'all know me. And by the way, Lee, I do bigger numbers than you in my live stream, so I ain't clout chasing nothing, my man. But let me break it down to you. Because my live streams is way better than yours, and they make way litter. My thing is lit. So let me break this thing down to you real quick. The Olmec actual name is the Tuttle She, right? That's where they took Jesus's name from, that whole thing. But we ain't going to get into that. They keep on saying that these people are West African, right? But there were 17 Olmec heads, 17 Olmec heads, right? Go look that up. Yeah, go Google everything about me. Look, as I ain't writing nothing down about you, trust me. Listen, so there were 17 Olmec heads, my man. There were 17. Oh, you better Google everything I said. There were 17 Olmec heads, right? And those Olmec heads are made of, and they keep on saying the Olmecs are from West Africa, right? But those Olmec heads are made out of something called basalt. I'll spell it for you. B-A-S-A-L-T. Basalt. Now, if you look in West Africa, there is no basalt anywhere in West Africa. Nowhere. And when you look up, not one place, boss, not one place in West Africa is there basalt or Olmec heads or any of that or pyramids or none of that. And it's the fact that they made beautiful edifices, my man. So are you saying that those are the Mexican people? Because if you look today, we are still the same people, because the Olmec, the reason why they called them Olmec is because they are the rubber people, and they took rubber from the Panama tree and we made the rubber. We did a bunch of things with it, but we also made the rubber ball games. What we do today, and we dominate. We are the mother culture of this planet, my man, and we still dominate today. Everybody, the rest of the world gets their culture from us. Literally, we are the 15 genome sequence, my man. You better start recognizing the divine Atlantean in your own self.
Yeah. So what we just seen right here is
You know me.
We see a complete retelling of history where he says that the individuals that call themselves indigenous to Americas, they're really East Asians, and that the people that call themselves Africans Americans in this country, they're really the indigenous people. You see, shaking his head correct. So just so everybody's clear. My argument is that not only is that some bamboo preposterous bullshit, is that we have evidence to show that African people got off slave boats and was able to populate America to what we know now as African Americans. I've even asked him and said, hey, listen, let's go with your argument of land patents. Because, because in debate, it's somebody that's been able to not only able to coach debate, but also judge debates. Some people feel like, hey, man, these are two ships passing in the night and we don't have much clash. The reason why we don't have much clash in this debate is because you're not getting into the point for point refutation. You see what I'm saying? The only time you try to come over to respond to one of my arguments is when you repeated land patents after I said land patents, when you said land patents. I'm telling you, okay, I agree. Let's say for argument's sake, I agree with you. TheEarthSpeaks told me I'm not of African descent, I'm of indigenous descent. What state, what treaty do I respond to say, hey, this land this massive piece of land that was able to double the 13 colonies that was bought from colonizer to colonizer. We both agree on that. I'm asking you, where did we go to? You have not responded to that at all. You've only gone on and on and on about tomatoes, the hominage, land patents. How debate works is when an individual makes an argument, you respond to that argument. You keep on giving me what aboutism, what about? And this is how we begin. This is a direct response to an argument. You're talking about pictures and how if you look at Olmec heads. My last speech, I said something about straw man argumentation and when people making arguments to points that were never made. I recognize you're used to having conversations with Pan-Africans. I recognize that a lot of Pan-African people bring up Ivan Van Sertima. They came before Columbus. When you start talking about Olmecs, so-called people say they from West Africa, that claim comes from Ivan Van Sertima's book, They Came Before Columbus. I'm a scholar that knows that Ivan Van Sertima's book has been debunked 5,000 or 6,000 times, right? Ivan Van Sertima's book has been debunked so much that I wouldn't even bring and make it a claim. So the fact that you still figured out a way to make that speaking point in this debate and it never was brought up, it is very telling. You did not come here to have a debate. You came here to try to throw as much shit out as possible, hoping for something to stick. I've still said, okay, TheEarthSpeaks. They say there are more. They say they Hebrew Israelite. You say you black and indigenous. How does this make you immune from the system of policing? I even gave you a statistic. Hey, black people are 3 times likely of being convicted and this much likely of being stereotyped. How does you identifying as being indigenous stop you from that? You didn't respond to it. You even accused me of moving the goalpost and said, oh, now he's not debating origins. My argument has been the same from the jump. The majority of people that identify as African Americans in this country come from Africa. I've never negated that point. I've even said so much that, hey, even the white folks know where we're from. That's to people watching, this is what we call argument development. Argument development is when you're able to go more levels to the more develop your argument. The middle passage is something that the entire world took part into, not just America. We acknowledge that people in the South America, like Brazil, the reason why Brazil has the biggest population of Africans outside of Africa is because the Portuguese were amazing enslavers. They were amazing enslavers. As a matter of fact, most of us African Americans in this country, we didn't come through America, we came through the Middle Passage. So when we start to think about the African diaspora and the way in which people of African descent is dispersed throughout this world, we get to think about this word I'm going to call intersectionality, or we're going to call it coalitions, right? We can acknowledge that there are different times in history where indigenous people had a hand in enslaving African peoples, i.e. the 5 civilized tribes. We also can acknowledge there were times in history where indigenous people helped black people in the Underground Railroad or Seminole people in Florida. We can acknowledge that there's a multiplicity of both people of African descent and indigeneity. We acknowledge there are indigenous tribes that aligned with colonizers, and there were indigenous tribes that fought against colonizers. We acknowledge that there were African peoples that aligned with colonizers, and there were African people that fought against colonizers. So when we think about places like Texas, places like Mississippi, places like Florida, we can acknowledge that literally we have Chutta people. Chutta, y'all know Chutta, Choctaw, white folks talk Choctaw, Chutta people, literally talk about their engagement with enslaved Africans off of boats. No, a better example. In the port of Louisiana, the French was dealing with the Haitian Revolution. Would you tell me that the Haitians are indigenous too? They'll be dumb, right? A lot of us are descendants from there, right? But we can acknowledge that the reason why America got the Louisiana Purchase is because of what was going on in the little bitty island of Haiti. And that how the French had to sell it to the Americans. Why did they sell it to the Americans? Because they were losing to enslaved Africans. This is empirically true. That we can point to little history that shows there were African people that got off of boats in Haiti and fought against the French. We can also acknowledge, historically speaking, that there are slave masters that are worried about enslaved people getting to worry about what's going on in Haiti and getting empowered and inspired, because literally they're gonna be like, damn, I don't know what's going on. I don't want my slave people to go fight against the people that they fight against my plantation the way they're doing against those French. That is literal proof that black people got off of a boat from Africa. Literal proof. Let's keep on going, man. So in the city of Louisiana, in the city of New Orleans, state of Louisiana, we know we have Creole culture. Creole culture is what? A mixture of indigeneity, African culture, and a European culture. That is another example proving how there were African peoples that got off a boat into this country. Do we keep on? Do I need to keep on going? It's like, hey, man, all I'm saying is, if you stay ready, you ain't never got to get ready. You see what I'm saying? What we also know is that opinions like everybody got one and they usually stink. What we also can recognize is a person being old in age does not mean they old in understanding. Another thing we can acknowledge is just because you say you want to be indigenous does not mean nothing to the system of white supremacy and anti-blackness. Just because you came across a sensational YouTube video that was able to convince you that you are indigenous, when you go back and you watch the film, I think you're going to see a clear display on my behalf. Not only am I extending my arguments, I'm responding to his arguments and illustrating how he's not responding to mine. I'm giving you impacts to what I'm saying, why it's important. Hey, listen, they say they're Hebrew Israelite. They say there are more. You say you Aboriginal. I say I'm African. How does any of these ways of identifying make us immune to systems of policing? He never responded. I said, okay, for argument's sake, let's say I agree with you and I'm no longer going to be of African descent. I believe what you said, man. I did my genealogy, I did the land patents, and I believe I'm indigenous. Which state do I go to take up my land? Which treaties do I refer to make sure I get back my land? So you feel me? Be black folks that be hella anti-indigenous, or they be literally engaging in indigenous erasures. As a black person, I'm doing my job. You see what I'm saying? I'm doing what I can in my community. But what I ask though is that shit in the indigenous community, y'all deal with the anti-blackness as well. You feel me? Y'all deal with, you know what I'm saying, people having those internalized ways of seeing black folks like the colonizer. Y'all deal with that. You feel me? I'm calling him out. I'm telling him like, fam, you literally acting like a settler colonizer. You trying to tell me I don't know who I am because I don't believe what you believe. That's wild. I didn't tell you was African. You told me I was indigenous. Shout out to everybody sending them gifts, but it's just like I want to just literally be able to show y'all the projection in this thing. Straw man argumentation. Fam making arguments to points that ain't never being made. And at first I wasn't going to say nothing until he brought up All Max. And they say All Max is West African. Man, listen, I need you to respond to the arguments that I'm making. Not to none of them old bullshit ass Pan-African you debated in the past. I ain't said nothing about Old Max being West African. I ain't said nothing about Old Max. I was making claims about African Americans today time. These is whataboutisms, man. The same thing white folks try to do when you start talking about white supremacy and shit. They want to start asking you, well, who invented this? Well, who did this? Hey, listen, you asking me these inconsequential questions does not disprove my argument.